What is up, boys and girls? Londrick here, and now I'm back with a new audio series that I'm trying out. So, basically, as the title says, Lundrick's Fave 5. Now, I'll admit this is kind of inspired by what Jericholic8704's recently been doing. He's been doing his own top 5s on various things over the last couple of weeks. So, then I got the idea to do it myself, and yes, I know Fave 5s kind of sounds lame, and it's the copy of what Booker T did on WWE.com several years ago. But I can't really think of a witty title for it, so either top 5s or Fave 5s. I can't really think of a fancy title for it. So that's what it's going to be. It's going to be Fave 5s. It may sound a lame title, but that's what it is. For the most part, I'm going to do like what's relevant at the time. So, for example, next month, in August, I'll probably do SummerSlam matches, SummerSlam pay-per-views, that sort of thing. I am open to suggestions. So, if there's any suggestions of like top 5 topics you want me to do, by all means, post in the comment section below. And this is just an introduction for the first time. So obviously, it's not July yet, but it's going to be July like soon. So I was thinking, so what about my Fave 5 July pay-per-views? Because I was thinking about it, I was thinking, there's actually some really good WWE pay-per-views in history in the month of July. I mean, it's always the go-home pay-per-view before SummerSlam. So yeah, let's do it. So that's the introduction, and let's get on to the countdown. Fave 5 WWE July pay-per-views. Clocking in at number 5, the most recent pay-per-view on the countdown, and it's a pay-per-view many may have slept on and just forgotten about, and that's Money in the Bank 2013. So until 2014, so from 2010 to 2013, Money in the Bank was in July, and it was always a nice good setup towards SummerSlam. But then in 2014 they made the change. Money in the Bank got pushed back to June, and then Battleground took over the July pay-per-view. Now the obviously, don't worry, Money in the Bank 2011 is coming, we'll get to that. But this was right at an interesting time in WWE. I thought the summer of 2013 was actually a pretty decent time in WWE. Obviously, SummerSlam 2013 was an awesome pay-per-view. Payback 2013 was a damn good pay-per-view. And overall, this was a very good pay-per-view, actually. So, obviously highlighted by 2 awesome Money in the Bank ladder matches. The first one, the opening match. So this is back when you had the World and the WWE title. And by this point, obviously, the WWE title was clearly the number 1 title, and the World Heavyweight title, it dipped in value over the last, 2 or 3 years prior to that, but it was kind of like the upper mid card. Try this guy out, give him a world title run, see if he's WWE title material type thing. And this was the first, I was an interested one. So they had the All Stars ladder match, which was for the WWE briefcase, and kind of the up and comers, which was for the World Heavyweight title. And what was interesting as well, they were all heels. So in this match you had Dean Ambrose, Cesaro, Jack Swagger, Damien Sandow, Cody Rhodes, Fandango, and I think Barrett was the last guy. Yeah, so they were all like mid-card heels, younger heels. And it was a really good match, actually. Probably one of the most underrated Money in the Bank ladder matches ever, with some good spots and all that. And obviously, Damien Sandow won the Money in the Bank that night, if you remember that. I mean, yep, Damien Sandow's Money in the Bank ladder match when it was actually a thing. Now, of course, it didn't really work out for him. He wasn't really pushed before this, but the briefcase didn't really elevate him. I mean, after that, he had a decent mid-card feud with Cody Rhodes into SummerSlam. Then, of course, he was just jobbed out to John Cena, and he never really recovered from that. But the match was really, really good, though. And, of course, obviously, main event for the show was All-Star ladder match. We had CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton, Christian, Sheamus, and the returning Rob Van Dam making his WWE return after about 7 years. And it was in Philadelphia too, which was ECW country. And this was an awesome Money in the Bank. Originally was supposed to have Kane in it, but they did an angle either the Raw before or 2 Raws before with the debut of the Wyatt family there, beat down Kane. He was out of this match. So yeah, that Money in the Bank match was awesome. I mean, you had stuff like Paul Heyman turn on CM Punk. This is when Daniel Bryan was getting really hot, and I think a lot of people were expecting him to take the briefcase, but in a swerve it was Randy Orton who got it. And although this led to the cash in on Bryan at SummerSlam, which led to the start of the Authority, which that's a whole other topic which we might talk about at some point. And there was other matches on here as well. I mean, there was a decent match. This is an interesting match looking back for the Intercontinental title. Curtis Axel versus The Miz. Because I watched this pay-per-view a few weeks ago on the network, and reminded me that WWE trying to make Curtis Axel a big deal was actually a thing at one time. I mean, if you remember, he came back after a hiatus, dropped the Michael McGillicuddy thing, rechristened Curtis Axel and had Paul Heyman, his manager, in a relatively short amount of time, won the Intercontinental title. He even did stuff with Triple H and John Cena. And then, how interesting this, looking back, is weird. Obviously, looking what's happened earlier this year with the Miz Taraj, you had a heel Curtis Axel beating a babyface Miz in an Intercontinental title match. Just a really weird match to look back on. And then obviously AJ Lee and Caitlyn had a decent Divas title match. Ryback and Jericho was okay, nothing special. But then you had two really good world title matches for the World Heavyweight title, Alberto Del Rio versus Christian. That was no, it's not Christian, sorry, Dolph Ziggler. Sorry, I had a bit of a slip up there because that was Del Rio and Christian at SummerSlam. This was after Ziggler won the world title, got in a concussion, came back, faced Del Rio, payback. Then they had that great match which led to a really good double turn of Del Rio and Ziggler. This was Ziggler's first face turn in his career. Del Rio was a really good heel. So they had a really good match, and I would say probably around this time period, this is probably Dolph Ziggler's peak in WWE after he cashed in Money in the Bank, turned face, had those matches with Del Rio. It looked like eventually could have built a Ziggler winner back, but they never went with that. They went with Christian. Then, of course, Cena won the world title, then they scrapped the world title. And then I just kind of feel after that, Dolph Ziggler was never really the same. Yeah, he'd had brief pushes here and there, such as when he was the guy that got the pinfall against the Authority, when he was feuding with The Miz on SmackDown a couple of years ago, and now who knows where this Intercontinental title reign's going. These happen right now. Just feel like after this, Dolph Ziggler was never really the same. Then an intriguing match between John Cena and Mark Henry for the WWE title. I mean, this of course came on the heels of the epic Mark Henry fake retirement speech he did in June of 2013, where it looked like he was doing this awesome retirement speech, and then he turned on John Cena. That's, for me, it's probably one of my favourite Raw moments of the past 5 years, bar none. I mean, if I did a top 5 Raw moments since 2013, that'd be top 2 or 3 for sure, for me anyway. Yeah, it would definitely be in there. And of course, this match was actually a good match. I don't think it was awesome or anything, but just a good kind of a power match. Cena against the powerful Mark Henry. And Cena got a good win over Henry. So yeah, so if you haven't seen Money in the Bank 2013 in a long time, and you just forgot how good it was, go on the network and check it out. And if you haven't seen it before, go on the network and check it out. You'll probably enjoy it. Clocking in at number 4, we're going back to the Attitude Era this time, and back to the year 2000 for Fully Loaded 2000. I mean, most long-time fans will remember how great a year 2000 was, especially for WWF pay-per-views. This was definitely one of them. I mean, while we won the criticism of the Attitude Era 98 and especially 99, although the storytelling and Raw and the storylines are all awesome, at times the in-ring product wasn't great, and then there was quite a lot of mediocre pay-per-views, again, especially in 1999. Not picking on that year, but it's true. But 2000, they found this awesome balance of great storytelling and great wrestling as well. And I would say from about Royal Rumble 2000 to about SummerSlam, that was probably the hottest period ever in the WWF, in my opinion. I should love that time frame. And here we are, this is an awesome pay-per-view. And it was built around an interesting concept. I know we've heard about double main events and all that stuff in the past, and people kind of just go, yeah, whatever. This time they went for a triple main event, although this time they went for an interesting thing of taking three up-and-comers in Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho and Kurt Angle, and then pitting them against the WWF's top most established full-time talent at the time, as The Rock, Triple H and Undertaker, and created three big matches: Undertaker facing Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho versus Triple H in a last man standing match, and The Rock versus Chris Benoit for the World Wrestling Federation title. Let's be honest, I'm just going to Undertaker Kurt Angle match was pretty crap, to be honest with you. It was kind of Undertaker just kind of squashed Angle and just wasn't very good. But I'll say the two main events were two awesome main events. I mean, Triple H and Chris Jericho, for me, still probably my favourite WWE last man standing match ever. Can't really think of a WWE last man standing match I've ever liked more than this one. It was a fantastic match, and in many ways Jericho's breakout match in the WWF. That was his first truly awesome match in the WWF in a main event environment with a guy like Triple H. Obviously, if you've seen Triple H in 2000, you'll know how good Triple H was in the year 2000. Him and Jericho had a tremendous matchup. Although Triple H won, Jericho still looked strong in defeat. Then, of course, The Rock and Chris Benoit for the WWF title. And it was kind of interesting, Benoit to get it, because obviously I feel like the main event scene about that time is starting to get. The Rock and Triple H have been fighting each other for months now, and it was just interesting to throw some new blood in there. Chris Benoit had been on the roster for about 7 months at this point, and him and The Rock had great chemistry. I thought. I think wrestling a guy like Benoit definitely brought out the best in The Rock in the ring. I think Benoit always did well when he was in there with top liners in the company. He had awesome matches with Austin, awesome matches with Triple H. He probably had one of The Rock's better matches at that time as well. And they even teased Benoit become the champion, because he did a thing where, if The Rock lost the title, he would get disqualified. So they did a thing where Shane hit the referee, because Shane was Benoit's manager at the time. And obviously when the referee turned, he saw The Rock with a chair, assumed The Rock had struck him with the chair and disqualified The Rock, and then Chris Benoit was announced as a new WWF champion. Then obviously Commissioner Foley came out, cleared all it up, reversed the decision, restarted the match, and then The Rock went on to win the world title. Then obviously that wasn't all, though. There was some really nice gems on the undercard as well. Hardy Boys and Lita versus TNA and Trish Stratus in a really hot opening match. I mean, this is one of Trish's first televised matches, I think. I mean, if she hadn't, there was definitely a first pay-per-view match. I think she had a handful of matches on Raw before this, mainly with Lita, I think. So that was really cool. That was a good match. Hardys and TNA. Rikishi and Val Venis I really enjoyed that. They had a steel cage match for the Intercontinental title, a match that I really enjoyed a lot. It wasn't a classic by any means, but it was just a really good undercard match with a pretty good mid-card feud at the time. And obviously this had an amazing spot of Rikishi doing a big splash off the top of the cage onto Val Venis. I mean, yeah, we'd seen it from Jimmy Snuka in the past, but Rikishi was 400 fucking pounds at the time. I mean, that was impressive. You gotta respect the hell out of Val Venis for that. He must have had nerves of steel lying there waiting for Rikishi to hit that move on him, because if that move went wrong, if Rikishi was off, his timing was off by just an inch, could have easily crushed Val Venis and ended his career right there. So yeah, if you want a Hot Attitude Era pay-per-view to watch, this one is definitely worth tracking down. Clocking in at number 3, we're going from Attitude to Ruthless Aggression, as now we're into 2003 and it's Vengeance. Notable for being the first SmackDown brand pay-per-view, because obviously after the original brand split, they had a year of dual branded pay-per-view. Then in 2003 the decision was made to do single branded pay-per-views, and the first ever one was a Raw pay-per-view in June of that year, Bad Blood. But now we come to July and SmackDown had their chance to make a pay-per-view. The Raw Bad Blood was okay, but nothing really special. But the SmackDown crew absolutely nailed out the park with a fucking tremendous pay-per-view overall. I mean, I think there was some excellent matches on this show. Not much that bad really, but at least 3 excellent matches. I mean, obviously notable opener, Chris Benoit versus Eddie Guerrero for the newly revived United States title, so to become the first WWE United States champion, a tournament final. Obviously Benoit and Eddie in 2003. You don't need to tell me to tell you that those were two of the best wrestlers of the entire planet at the time. I mean, sure, if you've seen both of these guys from that era, you'll know that. Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, two of the very best in the world. Had an absolutely excellent opener where Rhino turned on Chris Benoit. Then Eddie Guerrero became the new United States champion. One of the most underrated tag team matches you'll ever see on this show ever is Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman versus Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin for the WWE tag team titles. I mean, what a match that was. I mean, I bet a lot of people don't remember this match, but this was fantastic. And I feel as time's gone on, Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin has kind of been one of the most underrated WWE tag teams of all time. They're not remembered as fondly as they probably should be. And Ray and Kidman were partners on and off for years. I mean, they partnered several times at WCW in 1999, and I'm not sure if they were tag team champions or not, because I remember that there was a time where there was a three-way tag feud between Benoit, Malenko, Raven and Saturn and Mysterio and Kidman, but I cannot for the life of remember if Ray and Kidman had a brief tag team run or not. And obviously, then later on, they were in the same faction, the Filthy Animals, in 1999-2000, and would team up with each other from time to time. And then, of course, the first and the... No, they weren't. They weren't the first. They were second and last WCW Cruiserweight Tag Team Champions, notable for winning those titles on the very last Nitro. Then they were both on SmackDown. I think they teamed up occasionally. And I can't really remember the storyline behind this, why they were feuding with Haas and Benjamin and why they had a tag team title shot. Well, it was 15 years ago, so you can forgive me for forgetting that. If anyone remembers the storyline behind this, comment in the section below. It's also notable for Undertaker versus John Cena's first pay-per-view match, and the only pay-per-view match that they had together until WrestleMania 34. I mean, this was back when The Undertaker was still the biker American badass Big Evil. John Cena was a young up-and-coming rapper, doctor of thugonomics. So that was it's really interesting looking back, watching this match under those circumstances. Cena is the up-and-coming heel against The Undertaker, as the American badass. And the match is actually pretty good as well. I mean, this was early in Cena's career, so Cena certainly wasn't polished as a performer yet. And I feel around this time, Undertaker, he was having good matches sometimes, but not all the time. Like, often his work in like the early mid-2000s was often very hit and miss. Sometimes it'd be great, sometimes it could be bloody awful, depending on who he was in the ring with. But they worked really well here. A really good storyline about it. With Cena disrespecting the legend and Undertaker having to teach this young punk a lesson. And obviously, in a perfect world, Cena could have gone over, yeah, but I don't think it's a big deal that the Undertaker went over. I mean, because I think Cena did go over on SmackDown a few weeks later, if I remember rightly. Then there were two matches that weren't great matches, but were kind of entertaining because they had storylines behind them. That's Sable and Stephanie McMahon. Could have been dreadful on paper, but it was alright. Obviously, it's not a classic match or anything like that, or anything you have to see, but it's pretty interesting. You want to talk about, looking back, just really bizarre matches put together. Think about this, Vince McMahon versus Zach Gowen. Out of context, this seems so fucking weird. Now, originally it was supposed to be Vince McMahon and Mr. America, aka Hulk Hogan, a mask versus hair match. And apparently, I think Bruce Pritchard said in his podcast, like, I can't remember when, but I heard him saying that the idea was, do you know when Vince lost his hair against Donald Trump? That idea was originally going to happen here. Hogan was going to beat Vince, and Vince was going to get his head shaved bald. But peer issues and creative differences, Hogan left the WWE in June 2013, and Zach Gowen got this spot. Now, if you think about this, a 58-year-old jacked up dude like Vince McMahon versus a skinny 19-year-old one-legged wrestler in Zach Gowen. And on paper, that's just so fucking weird. This match could have been an absolute shambles, but kind of entertaining. Obviously, it wasn't a great match, or even a particularly good match or anything, but it was kind of entertaining for what it was. I mean, Vince bust himself open and actually sold a bit for Gowen, and Vince actually won a pay-per-view match, because say what you will about Vince McMahon, about him being an egomaniac and all that, but if you think of Vince's matches over the years, how many matches has Vince actually won? Not many, I can tell you that. And this is a rare one that he actually won. Especially singles pay-per-view matches as well. I think the only two, oh no, actually 2003 was kind of different, because he won the Gowen match. Then he beat Stephanie in an I Quit match, which, if we have to talk about it sometime in the future, we might. And with the help of Kane, he beat The Undertaker in a Buried Alive match, but that's just one of those weird matches. And then a great main event to cap the night off for the WWE title. Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar versus The Big Show. This, of course, was during the huge Angle-Lesnar feud of 2003. They needed to be kept apart to have the rematch at SummerSlam and have vengeance. So The Big Show kind of made a great middleman in that regard. I remember the awesome spot where Brock Lesnar powerbombed The Big Show out the corner. And a surprise, I was quite surprised at the time this happened. Kurt Angle won the title back, which I was not expecting, because Brock had won it back at WrestleMania, and I just assumed they'll probably have Kurt Angle going to challenge Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, but that didn't happen, of course. It was Kurt Angle winning the title, then it was Brock Lesnar who turned heel to challenge Kurt Angle at SummerSlam. But that was a nice surprise. So overall, Vengeance 2003, hell of a show. Now, top two, wow. And it absolutely kills me to have to put this one at number 2. But number 1, I just can't go against number 1. And obviously you probably know what that is. But number 2 is Money in the Bank 2011. Not probably, for me, the best pay-per-view of the PG era, I'd say. Best WWE pay-per-view that, like, this 2010s, this last decade for sure. And an awesome show all around. I mean, I'm sure how a lot of people who were around in 2011 are. I joined the IWR, I joined YouTube probably about a month or two after this, so not too long at all. There was a hell of a lot of buzz going around about the show. This, of course, was revolved around the whole CM Punk pipe bomb, contract running out, facing John Cena for the WWE Championship. Is he going to leave for the WWE Championship or not? I mean, that was an exciting time, which they got a lot of people back into wrestling. And of course, I know it didn't really go down well afterwards with Punk coming back 8 days later, then leading the whole Kevin Nash thing and Punk losing to Triple H. But we don't need to get into that in detail right now. From the pipe bomb to Money in the Bank 2011 when Punk won the title, probably the most exciting WWE television since the Attitude Era, probably. For me anyway. I mean, I just love this storyline so much. And this match, of course, it was a career-defining match for both, I feel. Like, definitely seen as best match for sure. Definitely Punk's best match in the WWE, but for me personally, career-wise, I probably like the Samoa Joe 2 in Chicago just a tiny bit more than this. But this match is incredible. I mean, it's kind of template of what matches are like now, with all these big finisher kickouts, all these near falls, all these big moves and all that, twists and turns. It's kind of the way we have great matches now is kind of how it all started here. I mean, this match is amazing, of course. The shock of Punk actually winning the end was just incredible. But let's not discount the Money in the Bank ladder matches. I mean, the first one is probably one of my top 5 favourite Money in the Bank ladder matches, and that's the SmackDown one, with Daniel Bryan, Wade Barrett, Kane, Cody Rhodes, Sheamus, Sin Cara, Justin Gabriel, Heath Slater. Now that's 8, so that's probably all of them. But yeah, this was awesome. I mean, got about 25 minutes to go, so had a lot of time to develop. We had some great stuff in there. I mean, awesome spot with Sheamus powerbombing Sin Cara off the apron through the ladder, so he got totally taken out. Barrett, the alliance of Gabriel and Slater falling apart. It was awesome. I can't remember who did it to, but Slater did a really, really tight 450 splash off the ladder, propped up in the corner onto someone, but I can't remember who it was who took it. But the spot looked awesome. And the big shock at the time, nobody expected Daniel Bryan to win that Money in the Bank ladder match. I don't care what you say. Daniel, this is way before the Yes Movement and all that. Daniel Bryan had been in the main roster for about a year. It was pretty much generic Daniel Bryan, tight, short hair, awesome wrestler. Didn't get a lot of not much mic time, but not enough character development. Everyone knew he was an awesome wrestler, but wasn't seen as a big deal in the WWE at the time. And there's a reason why it seems so random, because originally, and this has come from Daniel Bryan himself, he wasn't supposed to win this one. It was supposed to be Wade Barrett actually who was going to win. But on the Raw side, they had Alberto Del Rio win the Raw Money in the Bank briefcase. And they didn't want to have two heel Money in the Bank contract holders, because he thought that would be too repetitive. So they didn't want to have the same story on both brands, so they needed a baby face. And Bryan just happened to be there. I mean, Sheamus had just turned face, I think, or he was about to turn face. But I think they were saving Sheamus' title win for another time. Then you look, Kane was Sin Cara, obviously was a baby face. He hasn't really worked out. I mean, Sin Cara's WWE run was a massive disappointment. Kane had just won it the year before and really didn't need another world title run. So Daniel Bryan got it, and it was just quite shocking at the time. In the Raw Money in the Bank ladder match, not as good as a SmackDown match, but a really good one. You had Del Rio, The Miz, Mysterio, Evan Bourne, Jack Swagger, Kofi Kingston, Alex Riley and R-Truth. And that was interesting. There was a time when Alex Riley was actually really, really hot, but then they never capitalised on that. There's a lot of speculation of why that is, but we won't go into that right now. But I think most people thought they were probably going to go with Del Rio, because Del Rio was clearly a guy WWE wanted to push. He had what they looked for: family heritage, great looks, size, good athletic ability, good gimmick. And then obviously for different reasons, Del Rio never quite became the big star WWE wanted him to be, which is a shame, but there's other reasons for that. But Del Rio won that one. Then the undercard, I thought was, so some of the undercard wasn't perfect. I mean, the Big Show Mark Henry match was a decent enough match for what it was, but it did its story of getting Mark Henry over as a monster. I think the only really negative about the show was Kelly versus, I can't remember which Bella it was. I think it was Brie for the Butterfly Divas title. You remember that? I'm pretty sure it was Brie, but it might have been Nikki, because I think this was before Nikki got a boob job. So until Nikki Bella got a boob job, you couldn't tell the Bella twins apart. I think it was Brie, and obviously Kelly. She just wasn't a very good wrestler. Let's be honest. I mean, she was hot as hell. Don't get me wrong. She was absolutely stunning, but just not a good wrestler. And this match was just Then the other big feud developing the shows on the SmackDown side for the world title, Christian versus Randy Orton. I love this 2011 rivalry. I feel it's kind of getting forgotten a little bit now. Looking back 7 years later, people aren't talking about it as fondly as they were, say, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Which is a shame this one's getting forgotten, because this was a really gem of a feud. I know a lot of people weren't happy about Christian dropping the title to Randy Orton 2 days after he won it. But it kind of worked in the story, and the matches were always great. Probably some of Orton's best work ever, actually, to be fair. And pretty much Christian's, well, not pretty much, it was the biggest run Christian ever had in the WWE. The only time he really ever had a main event, even resembling a main event, running the company. And there was obviously the whole thing with Babyface getting disqualified and lose his title. And this is a rare time it actually happened, because for the most part, when these stipulations happen, they don't actually get disqualified and lose a title. But Christian has successfully pissed Orton off enough that Orton would give him a low blow, then get himself disqualified. Which, what a chicken shit heel to win the world title by disqualification. But yeah, so overall, Money in the Bank 2011. I mean, I'm sure everyone watching this video has seen this show at least one time. I mean, if you haven't, you got to find it somehow. One of the best shows in WWE history. I mean, only a truly special show can knock off Money in the Bank 2011, right? Well, this was a truly special show, and that In Your House Canadian Stampede from July 1997, 21 years ago, so the oldest pay-per-view on this list. And this, for me, one of the absolute best pay-per-views of all time. Up until this year, I only had 3 WWE shows as a 10 out of 10, like pay-per-view live specials. Obviously, TakeOver New Orleans this year was added to that list. But this pay-per-view was amazing. This was back in the 2-hour pay-per-view In Your House pay-per-view days. Obviously, as you know, I'm a massive Bret Hart fan. Bret Hart, my favourite wrestler growing up. So you're probably thinking, if I like Bret Hart, I'll probably like other Hart family members, right? Absolutely. In my top 10 favourite wrestlers of all time, both the British Bulldog and Owen Hart are in there. Obviously, you got like Brian Pillman. And Jim Neidhart's harmless enough, man. I always appreciate that he was Bret's partner early in his career and all that. And obviously this was right in the middle of the USA versus Canada storyline, where Bret was a heel in the United States, but a babyface everywhere else. And we just happened to have a WWF pay-per-view in the Saddle Dome in Calgary. Oh, and by the way, did I mention Calgary's Bret Hart's hometown and pretty much Hart country. Oh yeah, and the Hart family had basically ran wrestling in that town for about 50 years at that point, going back to the late 40s, where Bret's dad Stu started promoting in there. Obviously Stampede Wrestling, a massive thing. And all of Bret's brothers got into the business. Owen, Bruce, Keith, Wayne, and all of his sisters married into the business. So you got wrestling and you got the Hart family. It pretty much goes together like peanut butter and jelly. It was just a perfect match. So they scheduled this pay-per-view, and then they come up with one hell of a main event, a huge 10-man tag team match. The Hart Foundation, Bret, Owen, Neidhart, Pillman and Bulldog, to face 2 top 5 baby faces. We got Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ken Shamrock, Legion of Doom and Goldust. Now originally this was supposed to have Shawn Michaels in it, so Shawn Michaels and Austin being the top 2 faces, but of course the whole Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels scratch fight in Hartford happened about a month before this, and Shawn Michaels was off sulking over that, so then Shawn didn't come back till after Canadian Stampede. So I want to say Goldust was the replacement. I think Goldust was the replacement, but it might have been Ken Shamrock. It definitely wasn't the Road Warriors. They were always going to be in this match, because obviously they were feuding with Owen and Bulldog as well. But I can't remember off the top of my head which one it was. Either Goldust or Shamrock who was replacing for Shawn. I think it was Goldust, but I could be wrong. And obviously this was... Obviously fans booing baby faces and cheering heels over the last several years is the norm. But in 1997, that never really happened much. I mean, I think this was the start of that trend. I mean, it really started with the US fans cheering a heel like Stone Cold Steve Austin, and obviously mercifully booing babyface Rocky Maivia, and obviously Bret Hart was a classic babyface, and they started booing him. So it was getting to the era of the bad guys kind of becoming the good guys. But then now you're in Canada, and obviously so Stone Cold Steve Austin mega over in the States, but when you went to Canada, that was still Hart country, and the Hart family were the ultimate baby faces. The US the WWF team, Austin, Shamrock, etc., were the massively hated heels, and it was one of those atmospheres that you could die for. Really, one of the best atmospheres in a wrestling match I've ever seen in all these years. Amazing match, one of my personal favourite WWF matches ever, and the huge big win of Owen Hart pinning Stone Cold at the end, and then the whole celebration with the Hart family in the ring in Canada. And obviously we know all the tragedy that happened in the Hart family after this, and then all the divide in the family and all that shit. I think this was pretty much the last time all the Hart family were together and celebrating that thing. So it really was a beautiful end to the pay-per-view in that regard. But if that was it, then fine. But this was a 4-match pay-per-view, and all the matches were at least very good. I mean, you kicked off with a hell of an opener between Mankind and Hunter Hearst Helmsley. I mean, that's one of my favourite WWF mid-card feuds ever. I feel like the Helmsley Mankind feud of 1997 was amazing. I mean, We talk about the Triple H Cactus Jack rivalry of 2000, and that is one of the best rivalries ever. But this portion of the rivalry was fucking great as well. I mean, it stemmed from the 1997 King of the Ring, and it did two things. It was a great way to get Mankind over as a babyface, and I think it toughened up the Hunter Hearst Helmsley character a little bit, because the Helmsley character, obviously the American Blue Blood, the snob and all that, wasn't really seen as a tough guy, especially like when he had China as his bodyguard doing his fighting. But put him in these rough matches with Mankind really toughened up the Helmsley character. And then of course Triple H later on would go on to be Triple H in Shawn Michaels and DX. So I think like this feud of Mankind is one of the big moments that really got the ball rolling for him, and they had a great brawl. And then what was an interesting match, a Japanese showcase for the light heavyweight division that WWF was trying to do at the time. Taka Michinoku versus the great Sasuke. I mean, as if that was actually a thing on a WWF pay-per-view in 1997. Two guys from Michinoku Pro Wrestling. I mean, obviously in the 90s, great Sasuke was a big name in Japan and all that. Super J Cup 1994, also matches with Liger and all that. And him and Taka came in and had a really good Japanese junior style match on a WWF pay-per-view, which was really interesting to see. But the commentary is actually quite hilarious, because this is back when Vince was doing the announcing, but it was obvious Vince didn't have a fucking clue who these guys were, what they were all about. And I think at one point he even called them Samurai Warriors or something stupid like that. But this match was a really good match, awesome match for the time, and it was just something totally different than we had ever really seen before on a WWF pay-per-view. Then of course the semi-main event for the WWF Championship, Undertaker versus Vader. Obviously talking about this about a week after Vader's passed away, so it's sad to talk about. For me, Taker and Vader were probably the best two big men ever in wrestling. They had a match at Royal Rumble 1997 which was decent, but far from excellent or anything like that. But I think they redeemed themselves here by having a really good aggressive big man match. Now ironically enough, this wasn't supposed to be Taker versus Vader. It was originally supposed to be Undertaker versus Ahmed Johnson, as wild as that is to imagine. But of course Ahmed Johnson got injured and was taken out of the match. I mean, that kind of became a recurring theme in Ahmed Johnson's career. You get a little push, then you get injured, then you get replaced, and then he never really had the career that he wanted him to. I've always wondered what would that match have been like, Taker and Ahmed Johnson. Would it have been Undertaker? Would it be one of Undertaker's pay-per-view stinkers that you had when he often wrestled guys who weren't good? But he and Vader had a really good match, and then so that was pretty much it for Canadian Stampede. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching the video. I'm going to try and do one of these every week. Haven't decided what next week's going to be yet. But like I say, for the most part, I'll be kind of like for relevant to what's going on. So like SummerSlam time, we'll have SummerSlam related ones. WrestleMania season. If someone comes back or something, it might be about a certain wrestler or whatever the case may be. If you've got any suggestions of what you'd like to see, you put them in the comment section below. And until next time, guys, peace.